Welcome back to my channel. I am a wife and mom of 3 who has spent most of my married life as a homemaker. Being home to raise my 3 kids has been the greatest blessing of my life, but it has also challenged me to find ways to stretch our dollars so that we are able to still create a beautiful life on a single income. If this is what you are also interested in doing, I hope that you will join me and subscribe to my channel to see more content about budgeting, creating a cash envelope system, creating a home, and finding ways to stretch our dollars. I would like to encourage each of you, if you're interested in beginning a budgeting system or a cash envelope system, you buy anything to spend nothing. Often we realize that we are in debt or that we want to save up for something, and so we want to get control of our finances. However, to begin, we often do the very thing that got us into trouble in the first place. We go to Amazon or Etsy and we begin to spend. How many of you, like me, have decided that they wanted to lose weight or they wanted to start getting into shape? And again, the same thing that we do with exercise, we often do with our finances. We go and we buy the tools before we even begin. When I want to get healthier, I often will go and I will get a new pair of tennis shoes, or I'll get some new workout clothes, or I might get some more weights, or sometimes people even join a gym. 2 weeks later, they realize they don't even like to run, or they may realize that they don't have time to go to the gym and they would rather do a home exercise video at home. But because they already spent the money, they don't have time to play around and realize what they really want in the first place. We are often like that with our finances. We realize that we need to change something. And so we go and do the exact same actions that got us into trouble in the first place. We impulse buy. We spend money that we really don't have. I love all the props as much as anybody else. But when I first began, I challenged myself to play with it first, to do what I could do without spending money, and then I would reward myself with the extra things to make it more fun. I want to show you some of the things I did that helped me in my journey and cost me no money. The first step in budgeting is to write down your finances. It includes adding up your bills, it includes adding up things you're saving for, it includes listing your debts, and it includes listing your income. There are some beautiful printables that can be found on Etsy or that people create to do this. But when you're first beginning, I just encourage you to get a notebook. Now, I personally love notebooks. I have lots of notebooks, but even if you don't have notebooks at home, they're very inexpensive at places like Walmart or Target. But one thing I do like is I like to have a notebook that is bound in this way, just because when you first begin, you often end up tearing out pages as you're making adjustments. At the beginning of my notebook, this is the one I still use to this very day. I have my budget, my ideal budget wrote out. Now, I make changes all along the way. At the clear beginning, there were so many times I would have to rip the pages out. So when you first begin, leave a few pages that are blank. That way, if you do need to make big changes, you can just remove a whole page and it doesn't affect the notebook. But no matter what, just use a notebook. You could also use a binder and loose leaf paper. That also works great. If you like to use a computer, you can make yourself some printables. There are so many printables you can find online for free that are for budgets. The second free thing I encourage you to use is a pencil. And I say a pencil at the beginning because you will find that at the beginning you are making so many adjustments. You have to erase things. You can use a pen. If you use a pen, also have the whiteout nearby. But especially at the beginning, you're trying to figure out how much can you live on in certain categories. So for example, you may list that you could have $100 of groceries for your family of 5. But when you go to the grocery store, you realize that's just not something you can do. And so you need to change it. So especially at the beginning, just use a pencil. The next thing I did that was free were my envelopes. Most people who do the cash stuffing videos have beautiful binders with envelopes that they often get from Etsy or places like that. However, when I first began, I made my own. One thing you can do is you could just actually use a regular envelope. You can write a label. You could put some washi tape on it for decoration. This works great when you're just starting. But I personally like pretty things. I had lots of scrap paper on hand, and so I actually made my own. I made a 7x7 square, folded it in half, and I put tape on both sides of it and wrote my labels. I actually still use these very envelopes to this day. This is my eating out envelope, this is my grocery envelope. And you can see, I just opened the top and inside is my cash. I carry this in my purse, and these to this day are what I grab my cash from when I'm at the store. Another fun thing that many budgeters like to do are have savings challenges. Again, you can do this on your own. You don't have to have something that's bought to do this. One thing I do is the 52-week $5,000 savings challenge. I like to try to save up $5,000 for a year. You could also do this for debt. You could try to pay off $5,000 in a year using the same system. I found this printable online for free. I just typed in 52-week $5,000 savings challenge. And I found one that I liked how it looked, and I printed it off. There's many that you can find just by doing a quick Google search. But I wanted to make it prettier. So what I did was I made my own system. In the same way that I made my other envelopes, I made savings envelopes. I just used scrap paper. I wrote the amounts that were off of my list onto each of these envelopes. And then every single week, I pull an envelope and I add the amount into that envelope. Eventually, I do take some of this money to the bank. And so when I do that, it's not beautiful, but I made little stuffers to put in. So I just use little index cards that I cut in half. And when I take the money out that I've already put, I just write that amount. And that way I know I already stuffed that envelope. It was fun for me to make. It makes me happy when I look at it. It's beautiful and it costs me nothing. The last thing I wanted to show you was another thing that I've recently made. Once you begin to accumulate money in some of your envelopes, you won't want to keep that money in them. You'll want to take that money to the bank. And so they have things that are placeholders. I created my own. I went onto a website called Canva, which is free. They have lots of templates. And I just made myself some little pretty things that say $100, $100. And when I take $100 out of an envelope to put in the bank, I put this back in. I made $100. I made some that are $500. Some that say fully funded. And I also have ones that are $1,000. I just made these myself. You can make so many different designs. This is fun for me to do. It has been a creative outlet for me. And it has been a little reward for me. As I try new things, I like to do it myself first without spending the money. Now that I've been doing this for about 3 years, I have invested in some things. I do have cash envelope binders that I like to use, but they were a reward to me after I started. You will find that when you first begin, it just takes some time to find out what works for you. You may be someone who doesn't like to use cash at the stores. And so for you, you may not need to have the envelopes at all, but you may use a system where you use your debit card or your credit card, but you need a system where you can write it down while you're at the store so you keep track of it. You may be a more techie person. The notebook system may not be your cup of tea at all. You may want to use spreadsheets. You may want to use an app like EveryDollar that the Dave Ramsey system uses, or you may want to use other budgeting technology or Excel sheets or Google Doc sheets. But play around with it first before you spend the money and save those fun things as a reward. I encourage you to start today. I encourage you to look at other videos and see what can you do that you can make on your own. And the excitement that you will have of, first of all, finding fun things to do, but also doing it without spending money is so rewarding. And I hope you will start today. Come back next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then.